With over 1,100 plus entertainment industry guests and over 5.5 million viewers. Live from the Pepper J Production Studios in Hollywood, California, it's the Actors E! Chat Show. Today's guest is a writer-director whose artistic taste is fast, stylistic, and visceral. He is a creative leader on set and always stays true to his vision without compromising egos. Let's welcome director Samuel Gonzalez Jr. and our Actors E! Chat host, Julie-Kathleen Langan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Actors E! Chat. How are you? I've missed you. I haven't been here for a while, so it's really good to be back. Remember, we're live. So get your questions and comments ready because our guest today is really phenomenal, particularly if you're studying film or you're in film school or have an interest in making films. Our guest today is a recent film school graduate, but that hasn't stopped him from writing, directing, producing over 20 films, most notably Novel, in which he won the Filmmaker of the Year Award for the Natural Born Artists Awards. He's also quite an accomplished photographer. His chilling series, Catastrophe, was at the ArcLight Theater's Cinema Galleries. He's also a decorated officer with the United States Army for his time served in Iraq. And guess what? He's still in his 20s. Good morning. It is our pleasure here to welcome friend to the show, Samuel Gonzalez Jr.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I really wanted to say that. You're still in your 20s.
God, I am. That's great.
But all of this, you're so accomplished. And I know you, and you're a very positive person, but you're very ambitious. Do you feel like you're quite accomplished, for being only 20, whatever, 8?
28 now, almost 29. Mm-hmm. I feel that it's just beginning for me. The road is just starting. So if I've accomplished this much so far, I can't wait to see what's coming up.
And your dreams aren't here. Your dreams are way out there.
They're far. They're way out there, But the thing is, I always see the light, so I always keep traveling towards them. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. So tell us about yourself. You grew up in the Bronx.
I grew up in the Bronx.
A nice, tough boy from the Bronx. If you can, nice and tough.
I love how you have to say the Bronx. It's the only borough in New York City. You have to say the Bronx. It's on a pedestal. It's not just Brooklyn or Queens.
Did I give away that I'm not a New Yorker by saying the Bronx?
No, not at all. It's
okay.
a good thing.
Okay, good.
Don't just say you're a New Yorker.
So, if you could talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in the Bronx and being such a film lover and what influences you had. Because a lot of great films were going on, because we're, about the same age at that time period in the early 90s in New York. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, sure. I left New York actually when I was really young. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. So my childhood really didn't start officially until I moved with my family to Florida. But the films that actually my idol, Stanley Kubrick, that I grew up watching his films, and I am what I am today because of him. We grew up literally like a few blocks away from each other.
Wow.
50 or 60 years apart in the Bronx. But so that was, I knew that, and then
there he is,
and I went to,
Stanley Kubrick.
there he is, in his young days when he still had hair and stuff. So when I moved to Florida, I was an only child, so films.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, films kind of like, other than my parents who were hard workers, and they were, I was always at home with babysitters or something like that, or people taking care of me. But it was films that really kind of raised me. I had to channel my childhood through films, and then I wanted to be a part of that forever.
What did your parents do?
My dad is a retired soldier as well.
Oh.
And my mom is she does everything, but most recently she's a realtor.
So what was the first film that you saw, or first moment that you saw, where you knew that this is your destiny?
The first one?
Yeah, being a filmmaker, or the first moment you can remember that really captured you.
Wow. I think the first film that I saw that really moved me, that I wanted to be a part of, that was Zemeckis' Back to the Future.
Wow.
There's something magical about that film.
Yeah.
All ages can enjoy that film. There's something really that connects everyone connects with that film, whether it be the connection between the father and the son, and it's just a great piece. So.
Especially for your generation, I know guys in your generation, that's like their movie.
That's
they
our
love
movie.
that movie.
Yeah, and I wanted to be a part of that. And when I got back from Iraq, I bought that car. I wanted that. I wanted that car so bad. I was like, I survived the war. I dodged all the bullets. You know what I'm gonna do?
Wow.
I'm gonna buy that car.
Good for you.
And it caught on fire like a week later. So,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, and then the firemen came to help me, and they didn't help me. They were like taking pictures with it. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. It's like, I'm in the car.
You bought that specific car or a car like it?
I bought the DeLorean, yeah, 1981, DMC 12.
You're crazy. So, did you...
That's it.
You had that car.
I had that car, yeah.
You're
I miss
crazy.
it. Oh, I'm going to get it back.
Wow. How did it catch on fire?
It's just the worst car ever built. I'm sorry. John DeLorean's like turning in his grave right now. I'm so sorry. John, respectfully, your car is beautiful to look at, but it's just so badly designed and built inside.
You know what? I could see you after you win your 6th Academy Award for Best Picture. I could see you buying like the sled from Citizen Kane and like buying. You're going to be that eccentric artist.
I have all the vehicles from all the classic films. That's a good idea. Oh my God.
Buying the sled.
Get that?
So, did you make movies with your friends?
Yes. When I was a kid, I everyone wanted to just get scratched up or go in the woods and just be outside, which is something that I miss about childhood so much, is just being outside. But they were forced to be in my homemade movies, and then I would go around the neighborhood and have the neighborhood like pay like 5-10 cents to watch my films. And
oh wow! So you've been making films since you were...
Since I was at least 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and my friends hated being in them, but they loved it. And I still have some of those old films, so you could see where I was going in the direction, but they're just awful.
That's so cool. So then you enlisted in the United States Army.
Wow, it's funny the way we're jumping. It's like, yeah, I was 9, and then I wanted to join the Army all of a sudden.
I'm thinking about big life points. Unless you want to talk about high school. If there was a big moment for you in high school.
No, high school was pretty. It was a normal high school. I was somewhat bullied, and I was kind of a nerd. So, but then I grew up. I grew up, and I grew into my face, and then, and then I.
You were the cool filmmaker kid.
I was the artist kid in high school. Yeah, I was trying to find myself.
A lot of us were. Right.
Yeah. But I joined the military after high school. Within 3 years. I was playing a lot of music around high school time. I put the camera down, and I got into playing a lot of music, and I toured with a lot of bands, and that was my life for a little while. But I didn't like the way that lifestyle was treating me, and it wasn't really leading me to where I wanted to be, and I was kind of hitting rock bottom in Florida. It was like a bottomless pit, and I couldn't get out of it. So I needed to get out. And the only way that I knew how to get out of that was I had no money for film school, and I wanted to be a filmmaker so bad. I didn't know where do you go? How do you start, and who do you talk to, and just what's the way out of this? And the only way that I saw happening was me joining the Army. That was the only way out for me. But it was a sacrifice, because it was the worst time to join because of the war raging on overseas, and it was a decision.
So this is like 2003, 2004?
The war started in 2003. I didn't join until mid-war. It was like 06. I joined in 05, 06.
Oh, wow.
And it was right during the bloodiest time of the war. And it was a sacrifice knowing that I might be sent over there, and I was, ultimately. But yeah. I was like, you know what? If I can get through this and be a part of history and also serve my country and survive this, if I go through the pipe covered in mud and dirt and come out the other end clean, I might be able to have a chance to make my dreams come true and go to film school.
And did your father influence that decision at all?
My parents, I don't think they really wanted me to.
He's a
soldier.
He's a soldier, yeah.
He's a soldier. So I think deep inside he always wanted me to be a soldier. My father was very influential to me about, standing up and being a man and going out there and doing what you believe in. And my mom too. My mom was my hero. I had wonderful parents. But I don't think at the end when I said I wanted to join this, I don't think they could believe it. I don't think they really wanted me to do that. What parent does?
I think that this is so incredible to me because, you're this artist, this young artist, and you jump into something that's so foreign. Were you an athlete, or were you really interested in combat in any kind of way? It just seems so I mean, to me, like, you know, black and white, and you like jumped in full force. What was that like, transitioning from, you know, this nice, wonderful home in Florida to training and then eventually shipping out to Iraq?
You know, I think that I just love adventures. So looking back now, I was like, wow, what was I thinking? But at the time, I still consider that part of my childhood. I wanted to go out there and experience the world, and I wanted to create an adventure for myself, and that's the ultimate adventure. So the transition was tough. Yes.
Oh, so now he's taking your job as a
He's a director. He has to control the set.
Okay.
The room is great. Everyone's great. Thank you. For everyone.
Samuel, you have a chatter from Bismarck that says thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
And you have a chatter from Florida that says, ever think about making a war movie based on your and others' experiences that you saw while in Iraq?
Yes, actually, that's a great question because
Great segue.
That's a great segue because that's actually what I'm doing right now. That's my catapult into my career. Which has taken. I've come a certain way, and now the ultimate story is to tell what I experienced in Iraq, and that's what's being told right now.
Well, don't go anywhere. I can't wait to hear about that and everything else. You're watching Actors Eat Chat. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Over her long career, Nina Foch appeared in classic films such as Spartacus, The Ten Commandments, and An American in Paris. She received an Academy Award nomination for her performance in Robert Wise's Executive Suite. In 1965, Nina Foch arrived here at USC to begin teaching directing, and I was lucky enough to get into one of her first classes. Even as she continued acting in film and television, Nina's passion for teaching lasted for over 40 years. Her course was immensely popular because she developed her own unique style, drawing on her experiences studying with Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, and Uta Hagen, and being directed by such icons as Vincent Minnelli, Stanley Kubrick, Cecil B. DeMille, and Otto Preminger. As I began directing, the tremendous value of her teachings became evident and how important it was to preserve them for future generations. We became close friends, and at a cinema department event, we ran into my former classmate George Lucas, who invited us up to Skywalker Ranch, where we discussed creating a DVD of her course. He agreed to finance it, and on January 10th, 2002, we began taping an entire semester using a crew of USC film students. We filmed for 8 hours a week for 15 weeks, and this is the result.
Okay, so what are we going to do this semester?
Welcome back to Actors Eat Chat. Remember to visit our sister site, actorsreporter.com, and click on the Actors Discount links right there, the little flashing light, where you can get discounts on classes, photography, where to get your headshots printed or business cards, which is huge. And if you would ever like to be sponsored by Actors Reporter, please let Pepper J know. We would love to have your business. So we're here with writer, director, producer Samuel Gonzalez Jr. And before the break, we were talking about how he enlisted in the Army to eventually you had the idea to pay for film school. So you had jumped in full force, you did basic training, and then when did you ship out to Iraq after basic training?
It was fast. It was we went through boot camp. It was 5 months. It's much longer than normal boot camps because of my advanced individual training. I was a military police officer, and I trained right after boot camp. My military police training was combined into one boot camp. So it was rigorous and exhausting, and I went through like every season. It was hot, it was cold, it was terrible in the middle of Missouri. But we right after I graduated, I was in Iraq 3 months later.
I just think that says so much about you, how physically grueling it was, and how foreign, and how disciplined you have to be. I think that says so much about your work and how far you want to push other people because you know that it's possible because you've done it with yourself.
Yeah, no, when I on set, I take care of my crew and my cast like a family. I take my military experience and I bring it onto location when I'm working with my crew and my cast. And it's run, not like a military because that's a bad way to say it, but it's structured with a lot of high morale and camaraderie, and the discipline is there. So ultimately we're all together and we all strive to make the best piece possible, and that's because of my background and because of everyone being a great team. I'm only as good as the people I work with, and that's what makes a great army.
And you, as I mentioned in my intro, you won the Medal of Valor,
Yes.
or were awarded the Medal of Valor after a horrific experience that you had in Iraq. How did that shape the rest of your art? Because you're quite an accomplished photographer, as I said. You're an incredible writer. How did that shape you as an artist and as a man?
No, that medal, and I would do anything to get my friend back, who passed away, my friend Damon, who was very influential to me. He believed in me, and he took care of me. He was my brother while we were over there, and he passed away, and that whole experience shifted everything for me. It was at that moment where I knew that I wanted to tell stories that mattered, and to tell the stories about the guys that didn't make it back home. So that was the deciding factor of where I am today, and the kind of films I want to make, and the stories that I want to tell. It's because of the men I served with.
Absolutely. So you were in Iraq for 2 years?
A year and a half.
A year and a half?
Almost a
Okay.
year and a half, yeah.
And then you moved back to New York or to Florida?
Well, I was still technically in the military at that time, so we came back to Fort Lewis in Seattle. I was stationed in Seattle at the time, and then 3 months later they wanted to go back in. They wanted to go back to the war, and I was like, what? Like I'm not doing that again. I didn't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
So I called Branch, which is a place for them to like transfer you out, and I was like, all right, look, just put me by a city, anywhere with culture and music and art and film. Just put me anywhere there. It's like, oh, we have New York City. I was like, there's a base in New York City? Where? I was like, it's Fort Hamilton. I was like, actually, I don't know what that is. Can I call you back? It's like, you're never going to get us again. I was like, hold on. So I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, what's this? And he's like, take that right now. So I was like, I'll take it. And a month later, I was in New York City, and then little did I know that spawned everything.
Ooh, yes, we have another chatter question.
We have a chatter from Colorado asking, what was your job in the military? Were you infantry? What did you do?
That's what we were just discussing. I'm a
Police officer.
military police officer.
Military
That's what I
police
was,
officer.
which is very different than what people
Samuel,
think.
I didn't do it.
It's okay. I'm no longer a military police officer.
Well,
so
I mean, but basically that's just a reflection to me about how your history and your young life has been so vast and so dense. Not only were you thrust into Army training, but as a police officer. Incredible. So you moved back to New York, and you said that's where it's, spawned everything. What happened after you moved back to New York?
Well, I was thrown into a new unit that didn't know me. They didn't know anything that I've done, and we're gonna get into what I did in Iraq, but they didn't know me. So it was really tough for me transitioning to this new. It was a new family.
Yeah.
It's like being with your family, and then them taking you out and throwing you, being an adoptive, like a person that doesn't have a real family and being thrown in different places. That's what it felt like, and the only thing that I knew was that I was in New York City with all this culture, and I was like, look, this is the place. If I'm going to start getting into film, this is the place to be. So I started attending different film festivals, and I made my first film. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I just made my first film, and I met my family that I still have today, my brothers that are actors and filmmakers themselves, and we united and we made this film, and it got into Tribeca Film Festival, and that was my first.
What was the name of the film?
Oh, it was called Reverie. It was the first film I'd ever done, and it was just a chance for me to kind of break in, and I was just learning. I was learning by doing. It's just something that I live by now.
And then you moved. So when did you move to California?
So from New York, I'd made this film, and it got a little bit of success, and then I was very ambitious, so I was like, I know what I'm doing now, let's go, let's keep the pace. And I decided to make a feature film with no money at all. And I'm still a military police officer. I'm still on the base in my police car, in my uniform, and let's make a feature. So I'm starting to produce this feature while I'm working. And so I remember being on I met my best friend, Chris, who's in the audience today. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, how's it going? Shout out.
and he's the most talented actor that I know, and just my family and my brother, and we believe in each other, and we push each other to become better artists. But I remember he came on board to help me write this feature, and we were in that was in New York, making Reverie, my first film, and that got in the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, and a bunch of on the front page of lots of New York papers at the time. So that was very exciting for me.
Incredible.
But I decided to do this feature film, and I remember being in the car, in my police car, with my radio on, and I'm going to I'm just going around the base, and then my brother's in the car with me. I can say that now. But now he was not allowed to be in the car with me.
Oh,
but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course not. He's like a civilian, but he's in the car with me on my nighttime shifts. That's Chris. Yeah, it's like a young Marlon Brando type.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So he's in the car with me, and I was like, oh yeah, let's add that to the scene. He's in the back. Hey, let's add that to the scene. This is great. That's gonna be awesome. And then I hear on the radio, it's like, oh, we have a domestic disturbance call. We gotta go. It's like, all right, shh, I'll be right back. So that's what I was doing. I was like working with the military, but I was like striving to continue my career as a filmmaker so badly. I wanted to get there so badly, so I was having to multitask.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So you got into the prestigious Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and so many great filmmakers went there. Oh, is this?
This is memoir. This is ultimately what we shot. Like, this is what we made, and it's been in pre-production for the whole time I was in New York, and I shot it. And then now it's in post-production, and it's been in post-production for years because...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
It's been in post-production for years because I was honorably discharged from the military while I was in New York. It was time for me to move on. I made it out. I did my service, and it was time for me to go to pursue my career now. And I was like, look, now I can go to film school. So I applied to a whole bunch of different places that I wanted to go to, and I toured the campuses, and I visited Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, and I just fell in love with it.
You did this before Art Center College of Design?
This is before Art Center.
Okay, which leads me to, this is beautifully shot.
Thank you.
You had no formal training as a filmmaker.
No.
Correct? How were you able to do that?
You know, I consider myself self-taught because I read a lot of books on filmmaking, and I watched so much films. I was constantly going to the cinema to watch films, or I would have a library in my house just constantly studying my favorite films from all types, from bad films to good films and everything in between. There was always something to take from every genre and every film in particular. But that was my film school, was the films themselves. And then little did I know I kind of had something inside of me that I've had my whole life, and that spawned to that.
Wow. Fascinating. Well, we're going to continue with more of our phenomenal guests. Do not go anywhere after a quick word from our sponsors. You're watching Actors eChat.
The great thing about NNow Media is a one-stop shop. We are soup to nuts. We have writers, directors, producers, animators, motion graphics artists, editors, videographers, musicians, all under one roof. And we are a boutique creative house where we actually do the creative at much more affordable price and have the staff in-house to execute it professionally. My name is John Palacio.
My name is Luz Montez.
My name is Paul Robinson.
I am Jesse Cervantes.
I'm Curtis Peel.
My name is Ben Joran.
One of the most common questions we have from potential clients is, how does it work? What happens when you engage NNow Media to create a video, a marketing campaign?
It first starts with, obviously having the phone conversation with the client.
Brainstorm with them to come up with a really good concept and a really good idea to push whatever they're trying to do to the next level.
Only with that in mind can we really try to tailor a concept and a script for their exact audience that fits in with their branding and the message they want to tell.
We'll storyboard it out, get a real rough idea of what we want to do.
We'll then present the client with a couple of options, different ways that we could go with some of the things that we've come up with.
And they'll say this is good, and then we'll come back, we'll start animating that or designing it or editing it.
Our clients are generally, like to be really hands-on, and we'd like to hear from you kind of all along the board. There's no surprises.
What we like to do with every partner is we actually create a page on the NNow website.
So they can give feedback, and that way when the time we get to the final product, usually there's not a whole lot more revision to do because we've already been working together the whole time.
The big difference is that real personal creative touch.
We have a creative group that can execute that vision, whether it's animation, video, motion graphics, and do so with some unique creative that is custom tailored to that business.
Dream it up. It's video. It's magic. It can happen.
Welcome back, everybody, to Actors Eat Chat. I'm your host, Julie-Kathleen Langan. We're having such a great time with writer, director, producer Samuel Gonzalez Jr. I hope all of you are learning a lot from him. And we have some chatter questions.
Yes, we have. One of the chatters from Las Vegas asks, what do you look for in an actor?
Oh, that's a good question. To me, actors are everything. To me, they're not just pieces that are placed into the films to make it happen. They bring my story to life. They bring stories to life. And I look for an actor that not only can kind of harness the role, but someone that knows, can really just become the role because he not only understands it, but lives it. So an actor with like life experience, and an actor that is passionate, and an actor that speaks from the heart. Very truthful, honest actor is what I'm looking for. I love any actor that brings honesty to the role.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have another chatter question.
One chatter wants to know, what actor would you like to direct?
Oh gosh, there's so many great, talented actors right there, especially up and coming. But if I had to pick one, this is not too serious. Let's start small, nothing too serious. Daniel Day-Lewis. Let's do that. That's the best actor in the world right now.
Why is that?
Because it's exactly what I was saying before. It's like if I were to meet Daniel Day-Lewis right now, I think that I would never know I would never know that that's him or not, because every role he engulfs and becomes that character. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to be a part of that process with him.
Yeah.
Yes,
we have another question.
North Dakota asks, what director do you find inspirational from your perspective?
There's a few landmark directors that have changed my life and have made me want to continue becoming a better storyteller. But ultimately, Stanley Kubrick and Alfred Hitchcock are the two directors that have, if they were to have a baby, that'd be me. They would spawn me, because both of them actually were very interesting with their actors. They actually thought the actors were getting in the way, and they kind of used them, and they gave them a hard time, and I'm the opposite of that. But it's their ability to tell stories and to take the audience on a different level, and to create that suspense and tension. It's really not about the explosion. It's more about the anticipation of waiting for that explosion. That's what creates the great film.
Which is so prevalent in your work. And I was saying before the break, so you attended Art Center, College of Design in Pasadena, which is a very prestigious school. Michael Bay attended that school, graduated, I believe, from that school.
I believe so, yeah.
And that's really where you learned your craft as a filmmaker. Would you say?
Art Center is a wonderful catapult. It was a wonderful catapult for me, for my career, because I came in there with the fire inside to want to be a filmmaker. I already knew exactly my style. I'd already developed my style of how I wanted, but it was really Art Center that put me out there. It gave me the opportunities to make my films, and then it showed me the doors. Now, I do, as a filmmaker, for all independent artists, filmmakers out there, you don't need to go to film school. Just make your films. Just do them. Create your own work. Go out there, make them. Just keep working, getting them done, and putting them out there. But if you want to go to film school, it's a great way to network and to meet other filmmakers that are just as passionate as you, and together you form a family and a bond, and together you create great films. And those are the guys that you're going to be working with for the rest of your careers. And although competitive, it's friendly competition, I think.
Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about Novel, which you won the Filmmaker of the Year award.
Yes.
Which is, I would describe it, by the way, I love Novel.
Thank
I
you.
just watched it a couple weeks ago. I think it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. I would describe it as a noir thriller. You definitely can see Hitchcock, influences of Hitchcock all over that film. If you could talk about, because you wrote Novel as well, if you could talk a little bit about what Novel's about and your inspiration behind it, what that experience was like filming it.
Sure.
There's the gorgeous Marilyn Monroe, who
Monroe,
plays
yes.
an integral part in the film, if you could talk about it.
Sure. Novel was like a landmark short for me, even though it's not a self-contained short. It's more of a promo for a feature film. And I'd made that while I was Art Center. And it was a film that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it tells it's a conspiracy theory film based around the true mysterious murders and deaths of influential figures in the 1950s and 60s and so on, such as Marilyn Monroe and James Dean and John Lennon and John F. Kennedy and all these very influential figures that mysteriously were taken from us, and this tells the story of how that happened, and that in my conspiracy and many theories actually it's based around the Catcher in the Rye novel.
I didn't know that. We have another chatter question.
Yes, we have an in-audience question that wants to know how do you get the rights to use those clips?
Well, the clips because it's a self-contained promo short for a feature, and it was done through Art Center. It wasn't. This film was not designed to go out to festivals or anything like that. This was just a promo to get the financing to make the feature, which is what we're doing now.
That is an excellent question.
Great question.
Now, one of the stars of novel is James Dean. His name is James
Dean, yeah.
Dean, and he's an adult film star, and so you got a little bit of attention for that because he's actually a very well-known adult film star. If you could talk about how because your relationship is a very genuine relationship. If you could talk about how that came to fruition.
James Dean is like an iconic adult film star right now, and for him to be to be cast in just not that in that world, the mainstream was undertaking for him, but he already made that transition by doing The Canyons with Lindsay Lohan, directed by Paul Schrader, who's awesome, the writer of Taxi Driver, but. James Dean is.
Well, you got a lot of attention around the film because of James Dean, and he did have some. I mean, The Canyons didn't have a huge audience, but he did have some attention. There he is.
Yeah, there's James,
and he's great in the film.
James is phenomenal to work with. Let me tell you something, because I connect with my actors, and that's what I was saying earlier. That I want a connection. I want us to form a relationship, a friendship, and then together we create the character, and it shows on film, and. You wouldn't think that someone from an adult film world would transition, but in the film he's spectacular, and it's because he really is so dedicated. He was on set an hour earlier than call time, and he's so committed and passionate and wanted to do this, and we shot the whole film in 18 hours or less. If we have clips from the film itself and see like how big scale the film was.
Yeah, you're very fast. Well, the last time that you were on Actors E-Chat, directing?
I'm directing the crew in the back.
Okay, there's James Dean in novel.
There's James Dean in novel, yeah. So, I mean, this was all.
Talk about what's going on here.
He's supposed to be playing he's supposed to be playing a D.B. Cooper, who is who we know is a man who extorted $200,000 from the government in the 1970s and jumped from an airliner, and he was never found. Neither was any of the money. So the conspiracy of the film revolves him being the original writer of Catcher in the Rye, and once he knew that what his book was going to be used for, he decided to escape and flee the country and never be seen again. It's interesting, dynamic from an actor that wanted to. In the beginning, this character wanted to be known and wanted to get his words out to the world by becoming an author, and then at the end of the film, wanting to disappear completely and never be heard from again. It's quite an arc.
Now we have to talk about Catastrophe, which I saw with you, your photography. So not only are you an incredible director and filmmaker, but you're an amazing photographer. This exhibit, Catastrophe, which was at the ArcLight Theater Galleries, which I saw with you, and I actually was privileged enough for you to take me through many of the photographs and sort of describe your journey. If you could talk about Catastrophe, and I just want you to talk about it and your inspiration behind it, and they're just such unique pictures. If you could talk about that.
Sure. Catastrophe was very important for me as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, because my first mentor, Matthew Rolston, he really believed in me, and he's a very distinguished, respected Hollywood photographer. Before I walked into his door to be mentored the first day, he's like, wait, stop. The first thing that is requirement is that you have to take a photography class. I was like, all right, let's okay, I say yes. And then, so I started taking classes, and one thing led to another, and I realized, wow, I have to be able to tell a story in one image. I have to work on my lighting and my casting, and I started learning. I transitioned my filmmaking into one single frame, and so it would be very large, elaborately staged setups for one image, and ultimately it led to a series called Catastrophe. There's my mentor Matthew Rolston, and he's done such incredible work, and he's influenced my photography as well. But he introduced me to another photographer called Gregory Crutzen, and his work blew me away. It inspired me to create Catastrophe.
If we can't get any of the stills now, go to SamuelGonzalezJr.com and look at some of the stills from Catastrophe, because they are absolutely amazing. They're haunting. And then
that's Gregory Crutzen.
Oh, okay.
The photographer, incredible work, these two artists influenced Catastrophe. So if you go to my website, actually it's one of the first things. All my images are on the backdrop, so you could look at them.
It again has that noir feel, but because a lot of your films and a lot of your art is really dark and bloody. Oh, this was so good.
There's one of them.
So if you could describe what's going on. Oh, in that photo, we're kind of flipping through here. It's chilling. It's still, and it looks. They're images from another time. And it's the moments before something catastrophic happens.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to showcase in the series.
Hence
was,
the title.
And I wanted to show what happens before the car crashes into the pole. What happens before the bullet strikes the head? Like, there's those moments right before something catastrophic happens that ultimately is quite beautiful. Capturing that, and the idea is that there's always something so beautiful in the dark. There's always something beautiful in the shadows. And we never want to go there. We never want to turn there. We never want to look on the road when there's a car crash because we're afraid we're going to see something. But the Catastrophe takes down that curtain and allows us to see what's in there. And ultimately, it is disturbing. It is dark, but there is something beautiful and something to be learned within that image. And does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I just really wanted the audience to see the pictures, because me talking about it doesn't do it justice. What do you think? I've noticed a lot of times people that are good at multiple, really good at multiple things, photography, filmmaking, writing, there's a sort of openness to them. What do you attribute your openness to? And I mean openness to criticism, openness to learning. What do you attribute that to?
Well, being my critiques wise.
I feel that you're a very open person to be able to be really great at so many different areas of art. And in order to be great at things, you have to, it's trial and error. You have to do high volumes of work to get to that place where finally your art is where you know it could be. You
really can't be afraid to take the shot, basically. And that's one thing that I strive for, is that you're never going to know if you're going to be great at anything unless you go out there and you take it. So I like to dabble in everything that I can. These are one of our aerial shots from Novel that we did, but I think being a writer and a photographer and a director, it's all art, and they're all together in one way. So if you're gonna fail, it's okay to fail. Failing is a good thing.
You're saying fearlessness.
Absolutely. You have to go out there and you're gonna drop the ball sometimes. The idea is you pick it up, you keep on going, fail again, fail a couple more times. It makes you stronger. So it makes you better.
Wow, look at this. The imagery is so amazing too. It's thrilling and it feels real, but it's also kind of, I don't want to say sci-fi, but otherworldly. There's something about it that's not of this world. Is that intentional? Or I would imagine everything that you do is intentional as a director.
Yeah. Well, I don't. The things that I want to show the audience is not just great stories, but I want them to experience something that's all around us. My films are not something that beyond a different world. I'm not showing them anything that we haven't seen before. It's just a different take of it. It's how I see the world. After my return from Iraq and my experiences, I tend to see things in a different light, and I wanted to share that with the audience, and that's my goal through my films.
And now I'd really like to talk about Madison Avenue, which is a project that you're so excited about. And you're working with some pretty incredible people. Edward Pressman, who's produced Wall Street and The Crow, and Lauren Seelig, who just recently produced Lone Survivor. This is an incredible project based on your experiences in Iraq.
Yes.
Madison Avenue, if you can talk about this.
Well,
Oh, and there she is, Lauren
there's
Seelig.
Lauren, yeah. She's just had major success with Lone
Pressman.
Survivor. Ed
Yeah.
Pressman is a legendary producer. It's
Yeah.
an honor to be working with him. And ultimately, it was Novel was shown to Ed, and he gave me a call and said, "Listen, we're going to remake a film for MGM called Cherry 2000. It's a remake of a 1987 film. Would you like to come out and do this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Let's do it." And we went to MGM. We pitched it, and I remember him in the audience, not in the audience, but in the waiting room, excuse me, with me, saying, "Listen, if you feel that the meeting is tanking and you don't know if it's going to go well, why don't you just pick something from personal experience and connect with them?" I was like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" And then they came out, "Okay, we're ready for you." I was like, wait, what did you mean by that?
That's so cinematic.
And I was like, oh, it's too late. So we went in there and we pitched, and then the meeting was kind of like, they didn't want to do any more sci-fi, but they liked me and they loved the team. So what did you want to do? And this is where I pulled out my experience from the Iraq War. Is after my best friend was killed, I started a rock and roll band with four other soldiers. And when we weren't on missions, we were touring Iraq to raise morale for the troops. And the band was called Madison Avenue, which is the name of the tent city that we lived in. It was all the streets were named after Monopoly streets, and ours was Madison Avenue, and we called each other that. And this was a story about rock and roll and how we used music to survive, and how it connected us, and how we used that to raise morale for everyone that was around us, including the enemy, and ultimately have some of the guys in the band. One of the members was killed, and this is a story about those guys and the ones that made it and the ones that didn't. And we used this footage that was just shown. We used that to help pitch the show.
Unbelievable. Amazing. Well, you're watching Actors Eat Chat. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick break. Hey everyone, I am Judith Jones. If you are looking for photographs, which a lot of you are, let's face it, we need photographs every day. Actors, models, even if you're just, the milkman, you need photographs, okay? You need to look good. And if you want to look good, you've only got one man to go to, and that's John Michael Ferrari. You see, I needed to look good. So I went to John, and he basically took me to the most beautiful place in LA and took these wonderful photographs of me, and I really didn't even recognize myself because I just looked, well, let's just face it, I looked stunning. So if you want to look stunning like myself in those photographs, go to him. He will make you look beautiful. If you're pretty, he'll make you look prettier. If you're not pretty, he'll make you look pretty. John Michael Ferrari. That's all you need to know. So go to imagesbyferrari.com. That's the website, imagesbyferrari.com, and you can check out all his photography, and you can contact him there. You can look at a picture of me. He directed me, because if you need direction, which, hello, I do, he directs you too. So go and check that out, imagesbyferrari.com. You'll love it. You'll look great. Check it out. Bye, everyone. Hello, welcome back to Actors Eat Chat. We're here with writer, director, producer Samuel Gonzalez Jr. It's just been such a fantastic interview. I hope that you guys have learned so much. Remember to visit our sister site, actorsreporter.com. Get discounts. Click on the actors discount links and you can get discounts on so many fantastic things. Emotional healing for actors. John Michael Ferrari photography. If you'd ever like to be sponsored on our Actors Reporter site, please let Pepper J know. So, Madison Avenue, before the break, we were talking about how, Edward Pressman calls you up, recent film school grad, and is like, hey, would you like to make this movie? That movie doesn't work out. You pitched Madison Avenue. Right now, the project's in development.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into in pre-production for a film. Sometimes it's everything. It's really a predictor of, I believe, of where the film will go. With you, I think that you're going to go all the way. I know that Madison, all of us do. I know that Madison Avenue is going to do really well. If you could talk about what's going on right now and really kind of give us a bird's eye view and what's going on in the filmmaker's process in pre-production for something this big.
You know, it's surreal what's happening with this. We intended it to be a feature film, and it was pitched to MGM, and it led from one meeting to another, and now it's turned into a miniseries for television. And we're considering this show to be rock and roll meets Band of Brothers. That's what this is, and it's been an upscale, like, not a battle, but definitely a learning experience for a new filmmaker coming in, of what goes into taking a show, an idea, and then taking it through the channels of so many different hands and bringing it to life. And ultimately, now we have such an incredible team that believe in this story because of its true nature and its connection with people. They're gonna really relate to these soldiers. This is not a war show. This is a show about who they really are, the soldiers themselves, and where they came from and how they survived and how they used music to do that. So right now we're in the beginning stages of it, and we're taking it to different networks, but it's been an experience.
How do you find that balance between having the piece that you want, the piece that's inside here, the piece that you created, to working with these people that are vets in the industry? And you're very talented, but you're a young filmmaker. How do you find that balance to, this is the project that I want, to saying, yes, I'm young, I'm learning, help me? How do you find that? And not having it turn into something else that you didn't think it would turn into?
That's true, because you have a lot of people that are, Ed Pressman, these guys they're legends. They've been making films since I was a kid. We grew up watching their movies. So all of a sudden there's a new guy that comes out and he's like, I want to do this. And how do we work together? That's the thing about Ed. That's what he does. He's really a wonderful collaborator, and he takes an up-and-coming filmmaker that he believes in, and he puts them out there, and he's like, let's do this, and he believes in them. I've never had a confrontation with my producer. I love them very much, and they really are making a dream come true for me, that I'm able to tell such a real story for me. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure there's a lot of conflicts with new filmmakers and getting their foot in the door, but it's been great so far.
And we have another chatter question.
Yes, one of the chatter questions says HBO miniseries. That's like amazing.
Well, that we have several different promos with different networks. So every one time we went to a different room, we would use their logo.
Oh.
That's what it was. So we have one for Netflix and Stars and everybody else. So
Netflix.
So we have I
just got chills.
Right now it's up in the air. It's up in the air. Like, who's gonna actually take this show? It's what's the right home, and that's where we're going right now. So it's not a particular network just yet, but it will be soon. So HBO would be amazing. They're wonderful. I would love to have them, but we'll see who's going to be the best fit for the family.
And that's such a wonderful position to be in, to say, yeah, we have all these different networks that are in love with our show, and now it's up to us. It was amazing talking with you, as always.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your website, SamuelGonzalezJr.com, and this is your IMDb. IMDb. Oh, I love that IMDb picture.
Oh, thanks.
And yes, he has sleeves.
That was a selfie.
I believe it. And this is Catastrophe on your website, and here's your Twitter. So please, young filmmakers, I'll invite them in for you to ask, questions on Twitter. Editors, there's your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Samuel Gonzalez Jr. and your Vimeo.
My Vimeo page has all my work.
Your Vimeo is really great
to
tune into, to learn.
That's you.
That's my website, Julie-Kathleen Langan, and my IMDb. If you have any questions, they're my little nephews, my Facebook. If you ever have any questions for me, you can contact me at Twitter or my email.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great things coming up right now for independent filmmakers. Art Center College of Design they do an annual student film festival. It's for the students by the students, and it's incredible because it's all for just all the student filmmakers all over the world. So you should go to the website, DIFLA. It's a student film festival, and it's very awesome, and I recommend going and being a part of it, and coming out to the show, and supporting the independent filmmakers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. So great talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
What a gentleman. So
and thanks for
sweet.
the audience, too, for tuning in. And if you're an independent filmmaker, keep going, believe in yourself, and just make your films. Make your films, keep going out there, and get it to the right people.
Listen to what he has to say, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you to all of our viewers at Actors Eat Chat. We're here Monday through Friday. And we're part of Pepper J Productions in Hollywood, California. We appreciate you so much. And if you want to see all of today's show, just go to actorseatchat.com and either put in my name, Julie-Kathleen Langan, or Samuel Gonzalez Jr.'s name in the talent search box. And visit Actors Entertainment on IMDb. That's the Internet Movie Database to see the 1,100 plus entertainment industry's guests on Actors eChat. Wow. Please follow Actors Entertainment on Twitter at Actors Entertain. And join us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is amazing, and we love you at Actors Entertainment fan page. Don't forget to like us. Like today's appearance as well, please. Stay tuned to watch our Actors Reporter animation, which won Best Animation at the Telly Awards. Great job, Pepper J, and Now Media, Pepper J Productions. Thank you so much. We love you guys. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
What's that? Actors Eat Chat show? Happens to be my favorite. In the morning, I want nothing but a cup of coffee, a bottle of Kahlua, 6 naked girls. Wait, no, that's not right. Actors Eat Chat show.
Oh my gosh, hey big Hollywood starlet that just happens to be walking by. Yes? I'm not from around here, but I want to be an actress just like you. What do I need to know? Kid, let me tell you. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a naive newbie like you, there's one thing you need to know. To get my first job, I lived in a slum, beat out 50 other girls to play a drunk bum.
I cried.
My first agent charged me 30%.
Thanks.
Working 3 jobs and I couldn't pay rent, but I'm an actor.
She's an actor.
A shark gnawed my leg on a beef film in Sydney. To pay for the stitches, I sold my left kidney. I finally made a union, their rules were complex. Their piles of paperwork fogged up my specs. But I'm an actor.
She's an actor.
I'm an actor. Well, that's rather disturbing, but what's the one thing I need to know? Don't listen to the critics. Don't follow all the tabs. Forget that sleazy photog and the agent that's got crabs. Go to Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com. Learn the tricks and the secrets without all the sweat. An info-packed one-stop shop. It's free and on the net. Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com.
How can they help her?
Career cues, union news, makeup woes, advice from pros, insurance tips, choosing scripts, everything at your fingertips. Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com.
I just got a callback.
I'll do it.
Hello! I'm Mary Jo Gruber. Thanks for joining us on Actors E Live Chat Show. I'm just one of your Actors E hosts, but as you can see, I'm also the Actors E Live video editor, which means that I'm here, even when you don't see me. Actors E is here to chat with you Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Hollywood time, as I like to call it. Our guests include actors, directors, producers, writers, singers, comics, and others that are all in the entertainment industry. You can see previous shows at www.actorsentertainment.com, and be sure to check out our guest index to find your favorite celebrities. See you next time. I'm working.